Hey, I'm Steve Jolly, a broker with Benchmark Realty in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm so excited to be here today. And the reason being is because I want to share with you um, one of the secrets to this business, one of the secrets to marketing in this business that so many people have a problem with, including me at one time. And so I thought I want to share this with you. And to kind of illustrate it, let me say this first. Most of us do not have a problem if we start with the client and taking a client from there to the closing table. And I'm sure all of us can do that, or we wouldn't really be in this business. We can all close that gap from the client to the closing table. But the gap that we have the most problem with is taking a lead and taking them from being a lead to being your client. And so, how do we close that gap? And so, I figured out at least one way to do that. And so, I wanted to share that with you today. Um, and so you could learn something and hopefully make as big of a change in your business as it has in mine. And it was made such an impact on me that I wrote a book about it. It's called Kill Cold Calls. And one of the premises of that book is that you can use stories to do the selling for you. And so that's what my talk is about today. But before we get into the storytelling side of it, I wanted to share with you a few of the aha moments that came to me and that took me down this path of discovery and deep thinking and to the success that I have today. And so that's what I want to share with you first is these few aha moments. And the first aha moment was when I started wanting to be perceived not only by my clients but also by my prospects as being highly valuable, as highly valuable as there any other job in America is. So first I had to decide, well, how do we value in America? How do we value jobs? How do we value occupations? And so I started thinking about that, and the best way that I could come up with, where we could equally, the best way to compare different jobs and how we value them is by their pay. We value people by how we compensate them in America. And so that led me to think a little bit more about value. And so if the highest paid jobs are the ones we value the most, then what are the highest paying jobs in America? Now, if you look, there's multiple lists online if you Google a subject, or if you talk to somebody and ask them what do they think the highest paying jobs are, these are usually the five that you get the most. So you're talking about CEOs, doctors, attorneys, professional athletes, and celebrities. Those five are the highest paying jobs in the United States right now, and or they're close. So let's just say those are the top five. So I thought, okay, if these are the five highest paying, highest value jobs in the United States, then what do they have in common? Because if they have something in common, um, that might be a clue of what I could add to my business to be perceived as as highly valuable as they are. So what do they have in common that they give to their clients? What value do they have in common that they give to their clients, their prospects, their patients, whatever? So I got stumped there because I couldn't think of one thing that all five of these groups had in common. So I thought, well, maybe it's a couple of things. Maybe it's two different things. So I broke them into groups that I thought they were most similar. So the first group I broke into was a group of CEOs, doctors, and attorneys. And I started thinking, what does this group have in common? What kind of value do they give to their clients in common? And so I thought about it for a while, and I came up with they give expert advice, they give their professional opinion, their take on the subject, and that's what we pay them for. Whether we're a client, whether we're a patient, whether we're a shareholder, we pay these people for their professional opinion, for their expert advice. And I thought, wow, that's awesome, that's great, because I think I already have it down. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you too, in your own market, in your own niche, you have expert advice. At least you have the ability to give that to your clients and your prospects. And so I think that's something that we all have. So I felt pretty good about it. Okay, great. I've got this expert advice side down. My clients might not know that yet, but we'll get to that in a minute. But at least I have the ability to give expert advice. So that was great. So the item number two was, okay, um, what do celebrities and professional athletes in common? What kind of value do they bring to their clients? and it hit me entertainment. So they bring entertainment value. So in America, we value professional advice, we value entertainment, and we value them pretty highly because we're willing to pay them more than we pay any other job in America. But then that led me to thinking that, how, so this is how I need to be perceived if I need to combine education or professional advice, my professional opinion, my expert advice. If I need to combine that with entertainment, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that in a way that attracts clients, that builds relationships, and helps me sell more properties? And so I started looking about, and so that was aha moment number one, being able to combine entertainment and professional advice for my clients. And I thought that would be a great thing to do. I just didn't know how to entertain people. And so I was always attracted to stories as a kid growing up, whether it was whatever, if I was reading a book or if I was watching a TV show or a movie. The ones that were story based had my attention more than anything else. So back in 2012, I came across this guest post on Copyblogger by a guy named Ben Settle. So if you haven't heard of Ben Settle or you haven't heard of Copyblogger, I mean, I think I'd recommend that you look those two up because I think they're two great resources. And in this guest post, Ben said that stories have the ability to sell all on their own without any additional help, without any additional marketing, without any additional advertising, without any calls to offer or calls to action, without any offers. Stories can sell on their own. The stories just have that much power. And so I thought, wow, that's awesome. But you know what? Is that really going to work? And if it does, is it going to work for me? So I was skeptical at first, but I kept reading the article. And further on in the article, it gave a great example of the movie Top Gun. If you guys remember that, it was a top hit back in 1986. All over the world, was a huge movie. And two things happened immediately after that movie was released. The first thing was that sales of Ray-Ban Aviator sunglasses, the kind that Tom Cruise wore in the movie, those shot up 40%. Sales of those sunglasses shot up 40%. And also recruitment for the Navy and for the Air Force shot through the roof. So those two things happened immediately without any additional offers, without any calls to action, without any additional advertising. We had sunglass sales shoot through the roof, and we had recruitment for Air Force and Navy shoot through the roof for one reason. Because people related to the story so much. They wanted to be like Maverick so much they were willing to pay $100 for a pair of sunglasses, or they were willing to go out and serve this country for 4 years just so they could be like it. And that shows how powerful stories really are. But you know what? I was still skeptical. So I started looking for other examples of the power of stories. And I found several, but here I want to share one more with you. And so that second story was the movie Office Space. Now, it wasn't at the box office as successful as Top Gun, but it became a cult classic. And one of the side stories in that movie was about a guy named Milton, and Milton was an employee at this office. And you could do just about anything to Milton, but you couldn't take away his stapler. And if you touched or messed with a stapler, that's when all hell broke loose. And so this stapler became a symbol of the movie, and it became a symbol of people that worked in offices all across the United States. And it created a demand for people to go out and buy this red Swingline stapler. Except there was just one problem. And that problem was this stapler didn't exist. Yes, Swingline made a stapler, but they had never made a red one in all of their life. But that's what people wanted. They wanted a stapler that was just like Milton's. They wanted that red Swingline stapler. And so it created demand for a product that didn't even exist. So stories have the power to motivate people to buy things. They have the story to motivate people to buy products that don't even exist. So that is the power of stories, and that's why, that was my second aha moment, to combine storytelling with professional advice and combine those two things together in a way that attracted people to what I had to say, and it also it helped them to know me, to like me, and to start to trust me because they read these things that I was passionate about. and they read my personal opinion and my take on it, and so they could see that I was different from other people, and that I had values and I had principles and I had these things that I was passionate about, and if they related to those things, then they started to know, like, and trust me, and then all they had to do was meet me in person, and it was done. I don't have to go on listing appointments or selling appointments anymore, because people get to know, like, and trust me through my marketing communications. And then all I have to do is meet me in real life. And if I'm the same person that they fell in love with online, then I'm in. It's the easiest, greatest thing that I've ever done. And I shouldn't really say it's easy, because there is some work involved. So the work isn't easy. It's a little time consuming, but it's very simple to do. It's probably the simplest marketing system in the world, and on top of that, it's effective. And so those were two of the aha moments, and the third aha moment was why I decided to use email. And so I wrote that as the first chapter of my book, Kill Cold Calls, and it's in the introduction. And I give that away for free at agentsmarketintel.com. So if you want to see why I decided to use email and why I think it's the most effective way uh, to start marketing to your client, and it's the best marketing thing to build the rest of your system around, then go to agentsmarketintel.com and get that introductory chapter, that first chapter, for free, and read about email. But in the book, I describe my whole marketing system, how I put it together from beginning to end. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted you to see how I did it, so you could do the same thing for yourself. And so the first part I talk about in Kill Cold Calls, actually the name of the book is Kill Cold Calls, How to Generate a Six-Figure Real Estate Income Like Direct Marketing Legends. And the reason why I called it that is because it's replaced a complete line of business for me. That now that I'm just working, I used to do a lot of REO sales, but because of the way the market is in Nashville, that's pretty much, it's not gone, but it's 90% disappeared. So I was able to replace that whole line of business with another line, just from working the leads, the people that are already in my database. I've been able to generate those with this system. And so in the book, the first chapter I start off with is the most fundamental, most important thing that you need to do before you go on any marketing campaign in any business, and that's knowing your clients. So I share with you what I did to do my market research, the places where I went, the questions that I asked, the things that I was looking for, trying to determine what people wanted from real estate agents, what they were afraid of, what problems they wanted us to solve, what made them happy, what made them angry, what were they afraid of. I found the answers to these and plus more, and I use that in my marketing. So not only did I know what's on their mind, but I know what to say to them. I know how to say it, what language to use with my clients, and it's made a world of difference because it's allowed me to connect and relate with them in a way that I never would have been able to if I had chose some other marketing system. So knowing your market is fundamental, it's important, and that's the first chapter of my book. And then from there I go on how to add value. And that's something every guru teaches. Any conference you go to, somebody says, well, you need to add value to your marketing, but nobody ever tells you how. And so I was the crazy person that would go up to folks and say, well, how do you add value? After their speech. And a lot of times I would get these big looks like, I don't know. I didn't really get any answers. So I went on a search for how to add value. And some of the ways I do that is just through these entertaining stories and through having a professional opinion and having an opinion that you share with other people and you let them know what your take on the subject is. So how to add value, I think that's probably one of the most important chapters of my book. And then I tell you about how to write a story-based email, and the 5 most important parts of it. And this really goes true for a blog post. A blog post and an email, they can be about the same length, and you can use the same. So I said the 5 most important parts of a story-based email. And so that starts with the headline and making sure that it's interesting and compelling, and there's a bit of curiosity to that, so it makes people want to click and start to read. And then from there, I talk about the opening of the story and how important that is to hook people so that they read all the way through the end of your story. And so I share with you how I open stories and other resources that you can find where you can learn how to open stories in different ways that maybe your audience is listening to or that is used to. From how to open, then I talk about the story itself and what kind of stories to tell, um, and how to use that as a lesson about your business or about yourself or about your clients. What can they learn from this story? And then I talk about your call to action and why that's important, and then how to close out your email. So those 5 things: the headline, the opening, the story itself, the call to action, and the closing. I talk about all those and how to do all those in the book, Kill Cold Calls. From there, I talk about different story patterns. And story patterns are important because they're ingrained in the back of our mind and in the subconscious part of our mind. We've been hearing stories our whole life. And if we go back to millennia, go back in millennia for thousands and thousands of years, people have been transferring knowledge and the transferring from one generation to another the wisdom through stories. And so, because of that, our bodies know that we learn about problems in stories. We learn about solutions, and since those are important to us, our brains, our subconscious mind, automatically rises. Gives that priority in our mind. So that's why we're naturally attracted to stories. So that's another good reason why we should use it. But there's all kinds of familiar patterns that we're used to hearing stories. And so if you've ever watched a movie or heard a story and you knew what was going to happen next, even though you'd never seen this movie or read the book before, that's because your subconscious mind is picking up on one of these patterns. And it's compelling to you because you want to make sure that it ends the way that you think it should. So these types of stories or the different themes of stories or patterns of stories are important. I share with you 10 different story patterns so that you can use over and over and over again with different stories and different information to get your point across in a way that people will recognize and be instantly attracted to. Beyond the story patterns, I also talk about my whole marketing system because I write one of these emails almost every weekday, and it takes probably a half an hour a day to write one email. And so that's a lot of time once you add it up day after day after day. And so if I'm going to put that much effort into it, I want to get the biggest bang for my buck out of it that I can. So I share with you what else I do with the story to get the maximum effect out of it. So besides sending it out in an email to my clients and prospects every day, I also take that same story and I post it on my blog. And that way it helps in SEO because I'm adding new content to my website every day. So that it attracts more people to my site so that they can sign up on my website and get my stories in their email every day and begin to learn about me and learn about the business and learn about the market and eventually learn to know, like, and trust me. And so then I share with you 10 different actual story emails that I've written and sent out that got a lot of engagement, got people either liking them on social media, or they responded back via email, or they engage in one way or the other. And so the other thing in my book is, what do I do with these stories beyond the blog post and beyond the email? So I found the different ways to tell the same story, or maybe a snippet of the story on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram or LinkedIn. And I tell a snippet of the story, enough just to capture their attention. I point them back to my website, so hopefully they'll sign up for it so they can get these stories in their inbox every day, and I can start teaching them about the market, the product, and they can learn about myself, and they can learn about what they really want in life and in their home. So they find out so much information through these, and they become addicted to them like they might be to a talk radio show or a podcast or a syndicated newspaper column. So that's what these email stories end up being like. That's the best analogy I can give you for them. And these things get published all over the web, and it drives people back to my website. But I also share, and that's the start. And so that drives a lot of people to, instead of me having to call them, that drives people to pick up the phone and call me or to hit reply and respond back to me. So I can start having these real estate related conversations. And like how my friend Sean Carpenter says, so I can start
building relationships, solving problems, and having fun with people. And that's what this business is all about. It's building relationships, solving problems, and having fun. And if you can do that, especially in a way that's fun, then you'll enjoy the business as much as I do. But I also share what to do with the folks, and how I do reach out to them, and I do it in a very unique way. Instead of either warm calling people or instead of popping by on folks, I look for indicators of interest. So my website and my email all includes tracking. So if you're on my website and you've registered, I can see what you're looking at, what you're interested in. I can see if you're opening my emails. I can see if you're reading my emails, if you're clicking on my links. And to me, those are indicators of interest. That's like raising your hand and saying your interest. And if I find people that are interested, and they're not reaching out to me, instead of bothering them, I just nudge them a little bit. I send them a quick conversational email or a quick conversation text just to kind of help get that process started, so that we can start having those real estate related conversations, because that's the first step to becoming a client, is to having these real estate conversations. So all that's explained in my book, Kill Cold Calls. It's available on Amazon. I'd love for you guys to pick up a copy. If you have any other questions, come find me. You can find me anywhere online. You can find me at agentsmarketintel.com. If you go to Facebook, you can find me at Real Estate Marketing All Stars. That's my group. Come please join us there. Join the conversation. Ask a lot of questions. Or just send me a personal email or give me a call. I'll be glad to talk to you and share some of my experiences, some of the wisdom I picked up along the way. But thanks again for listening. Thanks for hanging in there. I wish you the best in your real estate career. And if you want to be as happy as I am in your career, find a way to educate and entertain your clients. And you'll find a way of doing business that means more to you than anything else in the world. Take care. Have a good day. I'm Steve Jolly, Agents Market Intel, KillColdCalls.com. I'm out of here.